after I send out the morning newsletter. So if you want to get signed up for that, I can drop this link in the chat here, and I'll text out that to everyone at about 12:30 each day. It'll just be my kind of top pick from the scanner and what we're doing there. And like I said, we're getting started in about 3 minutes. So thank you, Charles, for tuning in. Thank you, Rashad. Welcome in. Glad it's a new experience for you. We love newcomers here. We love folks who are just testing the waters. This is the perfect event. Honestly, these roundtables I think are great for newer people. I learn a ton every time, so I'm sure other folks do as well. Welcome in, Phil. Hello to you. Good morning, he says, or she. So welcome in. Wonder where you're coming from that you're saying good morning, because it's the afternoon here. Let us know. Maybe out in Hawaii or somewhere out there. Jeffrey, how are you doing this afternoon? I almost said morning because I got tricked by that message.
Hey, it's morning somewhere all the time, right? It's a 24-hour world.
Exactly.
Anyway, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. You see one of my 50K challenge right here, part of the Termite Trading Lab. You can see that profit and loss curve going straight up right there.
Pretty good. Not too shabby. So
Yeah,
congrats
no
on
no
that.
volatility in that one.
Yeah, no, not at all. Lance, how you doing today?
Good, but I gotta run, Steven. I got one of my tree guys are here, so I gotta go out front.
Okay.
I don't I literally just saw them pull up, so I just
Yeah,
wanted to
go
say
ahead.
hi real quick.
Sure thing. No problem. We
All
will
right.
miss you, but have good luck with that.
I won't miss you at all.
Oh, is that Publisher Nate? I don't even know where my Zoom is.
Does anyone even like Publisher Nate?
No,
Oh,
he's nothing
wow.
but a capitalist pig.
This really turned on me quick.
You're definitely when AOC runs next year, you're not, or 2020,
What?
What?
you're definitely not supporting her like me.
Lance,
I'm
what are we talking about right now? Go deal
Nate.
with your trees.
I used to watch this guy on Fox Business, Jonathan the capitalist pig, and he was so funny. He must have got canceled though, because now you no longer hear him.
Never watched him, but
But that's what I want to be. I think I've already gotten canceled from every other thing. But I had to tell people, and Jeffrey, you're going to experience it too. Publisher Nate keeps jacking up those prices, and Trump said no inflation today.
Hey, I've got a deal for everybody that sticks around. I don't know. Publisher Nate, let me get one through here. We got a heck of a
You're
deal.
doing the no inflation, the
I've been doing
The
all kinds. I've been
deflation.
letting all kinds of stuff go. I don't even know what you're talking about. I did the best thing I ever built. I let people try it for free, Lance. What do you say about that?
I like free. You're like
So
Costco.
I'm gonna
there
give
you
away
go.
something. I'm gonna give away something free at the end.
Ooh, are you giving away something
So
better than Apple, Jeffrey?
lots of free stuff.
Lots of
Is
free
that
stuff today.
is it better than Apple? Because I was looking at Apple. I think Graham, last time I on, did you take a long in Apple?
Oh yeah. Still
And
Uh,
long, baby.
I'm
I've been thinking of shorting
I'm
You
it.
still
should.
stacking Apple.
Are you guys really?
Oh
Why?
yeah.
The AI was such a bust. It was a
I'm a
pump and dump.
believer. Dude, they're just gonna
They're one.
dude,
They're,
they're
they're
just gonna
gonna.
come along and acquire an AI company and everyone's still gonna want the latest device on Apple.
I'm with you, Lance. It's going down.
You
Dang,
guys, you
Jeffrey,
guys are so short-sighted.
Jeffrey. What do they have? They have the worst innovation ever. They have no AI. Once OpenAI goes public, you realize Apple's gonna be
They've had
dead.
the worst innovation for 50 years. Have you seen the stock in the last 50 years? They
Well,
haven't
yeah,
invented anything in 50 years.
that was the old stock market. Look at the new stock market. It's all these high
No, it's the
short
same.
AI, crypto.
It's the same thing. The iPad, the iPod,
Oh,
the
iPad. Ooh.
AirPods, whatever. They didn't invent any of them. It's just when people started caring about them, they marketed it, and then everyone bought it from Apple. Same
And they
thing.
had the worst buyout ever of Beats by Dre.
And
And,
it and it didn't matter,
Warren Buffett sold Apple, didn't he? Isn't he all out of Apple now?
Warren
dude.
Buffett's
Well,
retired.
yeah.
So you're smarter
Also,
than Warren Buffett. Is that what you're saying?
also, yeah, way smarter. What are you kidding? Also, they're still buying back the stock, and anytime,
Buyback. Financial engineering.
dude. Honestly, if you're them, why are you buying the stock if you don't believe it's going up?
Because you have nothing to do with your cash, so you just do financial engineering so you beat earnings.
Oh, that is
Jeffrey, what do
there's
you got to say about this? Let's listen to a real expert.
I don't want to hear Jeffrey now because
I do.
he's already
That's
let the
why
cat
I'm
out of the
here.
bag.
I'm here for Jeffrey because
Listen, I don't think
Jeffrey.
I'm not talking about whether it's going up tomorrow or next week. I'm talking, long term.
Oh yeah, well, long-term play.
Google's
Mr.
the one I don't trust.
I'm talking about through the end of the year right here on my screen.
That's what
Oh,
I like.
ye of little faith.
Hey, one news event and the stock is going to all-time highs. We all know
One
that.
news event, they just did a pump and dump.
One real news event.
Apple had an AI
Not the
pump and
teasers.
dump.
We're getting a bunch of teasers right now.
Oh. Oh
Okay,
God.
so Lance, because you said you were leaving a deal with trees an hour ago, and since we're supposed to be talking about Bitcoin, we've really nailed that so far.
Oh, I love Bitcoin. I'm all in Bitcoin now.
What's your favorite Mag 7 and your least favorite Mag 7?
Ooh, favorite Mag 7. Uh Probably Netflix just because it's
That's not Mag
unaffordable.
7.
Yeah, it is.
No,
That's
Mag
Fang.
7, Lance.
All
That's
right.
Fang.
I mean, I don't like any of them really. Microsoft, Apple, Google. I mean, obviously
Tesla.
I'm biased because I'm all in Tesla and stuff, but I would say I would say Tesla, and then my favorite crypto is officially Mara because I bought the 19 calls last week and I thought I was smart selling them for 30% overnight, and I held like a two lot, and then they were up like 90%.
Well,
And
they're back to up, 10% now, so you still did okay.
but I love Mara. I'm all in the crypto stuff. Crypto and stable. Well, I don't know the crypto, but the stable coin stocks. Uh, Jeffrey, have you heard of this one? DFDV.
DFTV.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's like
pro-
some
What was it, a
oh yeah.
spec?
DeFi development.
DeFi.
Yeah. DeFi
Yeah,
development. Yeah.
that one I did very good on.
I
So,
got one of those down arrows on that one too.
hey, well, I'm already out. I'm already out. So, but I think these crypto stocks, because what is it? This week is crypto week, right, Jeffrey?
Yeah, it's crypto week with Congress.
Tell
Big
us more
news.
about tell us more about what it is.
Yeah, so they've got let me flip my screen back to me. um we've got Congress reviewing three main bills this week.
Okay.
And the first one on deck, they're reviewing them, debating them, voting on them. I guess the first one is the Clarity Act, what they kind of nickname it. It's the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act, and just kind of provides clarity on digital assets. They want to make the U.S. the number one crypto capital of the world, and we need to make some changes and make this a more regulatorily friendly environment if that's going to happen. So they've kind of got these three acts going through, and the Clarity Act is the first one. Then they have the Genius Act, which is going to require stablecoin issuers to maintain a one-to-one cash reserve, which most of them take that cash and dump it into treasuries or dump it into even Bitcoin to provide some return on the capital that they're given. But they need to hold a one-to-one cash reserve in case we get a bank run or liquidation on those stablecoins. The stablecoins are pegged to a dollar. Just for those that don't know, it's stuff like USDC and USDT are the two that are 85% of the entire market cap for that. And that's run by Tether and run by Circle, which is a public company that's been going a little nuts, so crazy on the charts.
So
I'm
Jeffrey,
sure Lance has seen
Tether has to have full liquidity backing for every single stable coin they have, but JP Morgan can lend out and only have to have 3% cash of all of their loans. I just want to make sure I'm understanding that correctly.
Yeah, that's what the Genius Act is saying, is that they're going to have a one-to-one cash reserve to issue these, but they can hold treasuries as long as they're liquid assets that they hold. So they can actually hold treasuries, and but I don't know. I digress. I've said for a couple weeks now out here in these shows like this that these stable coins are increasing the money supply without the U.S. government having to issue more currency.
Right, which is the
So
goal.
they're actually inflationary for the U.S. dollar. providing more liquidity for U.S. dollars throughout the
Mhm.
globe, and that increases money supply. Which more money supply, that's more global liquidity, that's higher prices in everything. So it's kind of
And
a good
they're
thing without
higher
the U.S.
prices
government
than
having to print.
equities.
Yeah,
But theoretically, even inflation across the globe, right? Global inflation, not U.S. targeted inflation.
yeah, we could see higher prices in pretty much everything. So I mean that does go that goes globally.
But then you have Bitcoin balance out higher prices as a reserve. So therefore, the bull case for Bitcoin is to only go higher because it's basically has to keep up with inflation.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It goes through cycles. I don't think this cycle is going to be any different, but we potentially have another 30, 40, maybe 50% upside left on Bitcoin. And then I think we'll go through another crypto winter, just like we've had before.
Do
I
you
don't.
think they'll pin it to 100K?
You guys are front running all of Steven's questions.
I know. All right, I'm leaving. Listen to Jeffrey, and then you got the Tennessee David Sachs, the crypto czar, Jeffrey.
Yeah. Then
Right.
then there's one more. There's one more bill. It's the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act that they're going to debate, and that prohibits the Federal Reserve from issuing a central bank digital currency that would kind of replace the U.S. dollar in essence. So we'll see what happens out of these three acts, whether they change the regulatory environment or not. But I think that's partly what the excitement around Bitcoin is this week.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that rundown. We did front run a little bit of my questions, so we'll try to adjust on the fly. Usually we wait a few minutes to go that far off the rails, but I appreciate it. We got a lot of good stuff already covered. So thank you guys, and welcome everybody one more time to what we're having an urgent crypto roundtable here as crypto's Bitcoin has hit all-time highs at first Thursday, right after the close, and pretty much has not stopped making new all-time highs since then. It's finally had a little pullback in the last few hours here, but we'll talk to our guys here and see how long they think the pullback will last and where we might end up. We've got already heard a lot from Jeffrey Turnmeyer here, who is the guru and scion of crypto down there in Knoxville. Jeffrey taught me everything I know about crypto, which is only a drop in the ocean of what Jeffrey knows about crypto. So excited to have him here. We've also got the hosts of Opening Playbook and parts of the New Money Crew, Nathan and Graham. Nate, how are you doing today? I haven't really gotten to say hello to you yet.
Oh, doing wonderful. I mean, hey, Bitcoin's at all-time highs. I taught Jeffrey about Bitcoin, and then here. No, I'm just kidding. No, really. I maybe had like a couple of Ethereum before I really got engaged in the active trading stuff. So also have to give Jeffrey a lot of credit for making me as much of an optimist in the crypto potential as possible. So I've been holding it, and as we'll talk about here, I don't have nearly the deep kind of analysis of crypto. I don't trade it like super actively. I don't have a service. It just sometimes makes my watch list with other stocks, and I trade it basically as a pure momentum asset. When it's really ripping, I jump on and grab a couple pieces and go for it. So that's pretty much what I'm doing right now, and happy that it's still ripping.
Fantastic. Graham, how are you doing today? Also saw the baby announcement on Telegram this weekend, so congratulations, future quarterback on the way.
Yeah, we're pumped. He needs to go to the NFL first round draft pick, of course. I expect no less.
Set the bar reasonable,
Yes.
Second round will be a total failure. All right. Well, like I said, we've got a few questions to dive into here, and we have kind of talked about bits and pieces of them here, but we'll kind of restructure a little bit as we go and talk about things. Graham, I was going to start with you, and you haven't really had a chance to weigh in a ton yet, so I think it'd be good for you to weigh in on this. What do you think is fueling this run higher that we've seen since Thursday afternoon, especially on Bitcoin, and what is your overall vibe right now with where we're at?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing we've been talking about now for over a year. So hopefully this time, if you guys haven't paid attention yet, you pay attention today because there's still some room for upside. This is a cool chart that we've looked at. I know Jeffrey has as well, and it really models what's going on with Bitcoin, and it predicts it for us. So what you're looking at here, that green line is the M2 global liquidity, basically all the money out in the world. And anytime that number goes up, Bitcoin soon follows. So this green line here is actually shifted forward 3 months. So obviously we're not in September yet. We don't know what the money supply will look like in September. All they did was just took this chart and shifted it forward 3 months to say, what happens to Bitcoin over the next few weeks ahead. And so far, it's followed it to a T. And let me just put a little pointy arrow here. This blue line I drew this morning on opening playbook with the most recent price update on Bitcoin. It's amazing. If you look down here, June, July, we're at the start of July. And let me actually draw this a little bit more like that. What has happened yet again? Bitcoin has followed the money supply. Now, of course, there's many factors that go into Bitcoin's price appreciation over the last few years. One being the halving event that we hammered to you guys for a long, long while, but now the macroeconomics are lining up as well. I think right now Bitcoin, it's in a win-win sort of environment where number one, it's still a risk-on play, just like it's always been when quantitative easing comes in, when monetary policy gets loosened. Uh, Things like Bitcoin small caps all tend to rip. We've seen that in the past, but now we're also seeing it as an inflationary hedge where people are worried about, hey, what happens actually if Powell gets fired and we cut interest rates by 3%? Well, I think we all can quickly piece together that that would probably bring back some crazy inflation, in which case gold is a great alternative asset and now Bitcoin as well. So I think Bitcoin's in a rare win-win scenario that it's really never been in before, at least not on the grand scale that it is this year as compared to the previous cycles.
Awesome. Makes a lot of sense. Nathan, you have anything you want to add there?
I guess I would just add that I don't really know what's driving the price in terms of actually understanding how crypto works. So that's my really genius insight. I believe that the cycles are ultimately going to, dominate where Bitcoin goes, and then just kind of trading them aggressively when there is momentum, and not buying into the idea that something is overextended when it's still in the heat of momentum. I think that's where traders mostly go wrong. Oh, I missed the move or whatever. In most cases, like the first 2 or 3 times you think you missed the move on Bitcoin is probably a good time to be buying and not saying I missed the move. And so that's where I'm at on it. Just trade the momentum until it stops.
Yeah, it feels to me like there are plenty of reasons that could be fueling this from just kind of an investor sentiment. And maybe they all are, but there's not one giant catalyst that has forced this move higher. Jeffrey, you've been calling for this move for a long time. And I know you're about the last person to say, hey, this headline or news piece fueled this. But what do you think about what we're seeing? Maybe if you have insight, you just told us a little bit about Crypto Week that is maybe fueling that speculation. But
It's just, I mean, it's kind of like the perfect storm. Like as this thing goes higher, it's almost like everything else in the market. Um, when things are going really good, we get lots of mainstream media attach on and put good stories on it. And when crypto was in the toilet in 2022, we had people beating it down, saying it's going bust, it's a scam, it's a Ponzi, they pile on every time it goes down 70, 80%. And people say, all the main banks come out and say, "Oh, it's a crap asset. You can't invest in it." Vanguard dispelling it like, it's vaporware, it's nothing, and then they pour $90 billion into MSTR today,
right.
or announced they, a 990. It's just insane. They bought 20 million shares of MicroStrategy, yet they're saying that this is nothing. And that's one of, if BlackRock's the biggest account manager for retirees, Vanguard's right up there with them. I think number 2, or at least number 2, maybe number 3. And if those biggest retirement account managers are going all in, I mean, it's a catalyst to push it higher. It just is, and it's like a perfect storm. All this attention's on it. The money supply is increasing, like Graham said. We still have money supply increases to, potential upside left to go. But eventually this is going to run its course, just like it has every other time. You can't convince me not until we don't. Like, it's done the same pattern. This will be the 5th time in a row. Why would you think it's going to do anything different?
Yeah, very fair. And I mean, you were the first person to call this out, Jeffrey, but you have, speaking of BlackRock, Larry Fink is kind of the emblem to me of the 180 on crypto. A few years ago, he was saying it was an index of money laundering, I think was the exact quote. And then or just last year, he called it an asset class that protects you, which I can't think of two more opposite declarations about one asset in the history of human speech. So, I think you've called that the age of adoption. We're squarely, I would say pretty much finished with that at this point, in the sense that Bitcoin is mainstream. There's obviously always going to be more of that, but I think that's, for me at least, maybe part of what this is too, is just people are scared about the dollar and the economy, and now, Bitcoin seems totally a legitimate option for folks.
Well, I think we have finished the early adopter phase
Okay,
of
that's a better way.
mainstream adoption. I think we're going to go into this phase where it's just kind of status quo for a little while. And then we're going to get the late adopters phase. You look at any popular thing, you get the fad, you get the long lines at the, it was Cold Stone Creamery type ice cream for a while there. I used this example with you, 3 years ago or something like that.
Mhm.
We go through these fads, it was it's cupcakes for a while, it was froyos for a while, it was, Cold Stone Creamery stuff for a while. You have these long lines, and every once in a while you get a million of them open up, and then the fad ends, and then you're like, where do I even go to get a froyo these days? I don't even know. At least around here where I am, cupcake shops were everywhere. Donut shops are really hot right now, and
Mhm.
that may run its fad too. Bitcoin's going to go through this mass adoption phase, and then it'll go through a late adoption phase where we have the people that were like naysayers right up to the very end are like, all right, I'm in. And then it's status quo, and we probably get less volatility in Bitcoin. But until that kind of final phase, I think we're doomed to see the volatility and it be that risk on, risk out asset, risk on, risk off asset like Nate and Graham were talking about. And
Yeah.
you kind of have to go with the momentum.
And you're talking about a cycle there that plays out over years, right? Not
Yeah, this is going to be played out over, we just we just experienced kind of the early adopter phase,
Mhm.
and it lasted, I was talking about, we were kind of in the very beginning of it when I met you. That was 4 years ago.
Yep.
And yeah, you and Nate. And now we're kind of getting to the plateau, and it'll just kind of be normal that companies start adopting this more and more, because we just saw Shopify work a deal with Coinbase to be able to roll out crypto to all of their merchants. So
Mhm.
this is going to just, increase and increase. They have millions of merchants that work with Shopify.
Yeah.
And so we're going to see this become more and more mainstream, that people can use crypto to pay for stuff.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, and as we talk about kind of the end of that early adopter phase, I think a lot of our students and traders are kind of in that same vein. So Nate, I wanted to ask you, how is it, how would you talk to people who haven't gotten started, or want to get started? I've already seen some questions like, what can I actually do in the stock market to take advantage of this opportunity in Bitcoin right now? You are muted, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know
Yeah.
that.
So, well, let me give you a practical example, just because I can do it while also bragging, and it's always important to brag. So,
Yeah.
this was the Slack that I sent Graham and Dave, who's got our company, on Wednesday last week. So, Bitcoin was at 111. I said, I think she's going, because what momentum? I didn't see a headline or run through any deep analysis. I just look, it's moving. We're getting that kind of classic Bitcoin ripping, people jumping on. We'll probably be at 125K next week. Which is me being hyperbolic, but also wouldn't be surprising at all if Bitcoin does that, which is the beautiful thing about Bitcoin, is that it actually could do that. But the thing is interesting to me is I'm talking in terms of Bitcoin. I'm looking at BTC. I'm using 125K as the metric, as in what the Bitcoin underlying price is doing. And yet, I'm not actually trading Bitcoin at all. I'm trading IBIT. I'm trading some MSTR. I still like Mara as a potential catch-up trade. So I'm using Bitcoin as the baseline of what I'm talking about when I say a number like 125K. But in terms of the actual asset, I'm not even trading Bitcoin. I still have, a little bit of actual crypto that I haven't really touched, that I've been holding for a long time. But actively trading, I'm not trading Bitcoin at all. I'm trading mostly IBIT. And the way that I trade it, to answer your question, I mean, first of all, I think that you have to understand that you're trading a higher risk asset that I shouldn't even say higher risk. You can trade with defined risk. You're trading a more aggressive asset. You should be going, you're going to be going for big wins. You're going to be trading into the teeth of volatility. So if that's the kind of trade that you want, then you can trade IBIT, you can trade MSTR, you could trade Lance's favorite, Mara, and trade them aggressively. The way that I typically do it is how I do most things: trade with like a directional debit spread with a defined risk, grab $68, $69 calls on IBIT last week for like 30 cents. If it hits $1, you just made 300+%. So that's the way that I like to do it. Jeffrey obviously has a much more sophisticated approach because he has an entire service built around that, scanning it. I'm just literally looking at the chart, finding where I think it's going to be a good spot. Weekly breakouts are typically how I trade. So a lot of times Friday, end of day, I'll put on a trade for the next week or 2 weeks. And knowing that, listen, this is an opportunity where if we're in risk on and we stay risk on, more than likely Bitcoin is going to lead the pack. And so, frankly, by the way, I still think that the market, specifically the options market, is underplaying Bitcoin's potential. If you go look at IBIT and you trade like a normal debit spread that's out of the money, you can make 300% or 400% on like a 4 or 5% move in Bitcoin. I think that's just underplaying its potential, where if you're right, it probably is going to go 4 or 5%, versus that's, the same as something like, I don't know, Progressive or like a normal stock that doesn't move 4 and 5% all the time, that you can get the value of. So I think that's one of the benefits, is that it kind of is underpricing the potential when you're right on Bitcoin, in this case, trading IBIT or MSTR. And you can do it in a risk-defined way where go for a moonshot, and if you hit it, you'll be in good shape. Just know that that's what you're doing. You're going for a moonshot.
Love it. Lance, welcome back. Anything you want to add to what Nate?
How those trees doing, Lance?
Good. I just hand them a check and they say all good. I'm a tree daddy.
Wish I could do that with this mattress that's been on my porch for a week, but that's a different story. Graham, anything you want to add to what Nate just said?
No, I think that's definitely really good insight, and I just love that this time around it's so available for everyone to trade with IBIT. Options are liquid. You don't have to go get a Coinbase account. You don't have to figure out how to get a wallet and download the cold storage or anything like that. It's just so much more mainstream. I think that's what's going to really help keep this rally propelled, going higher and higher. And like Nate said, the options right now are really, really juicy. I mean, we just saw Bitcoin move 5%, I think, over the weekend. My options were up 180% this morning, just doing it exactly the way he drummed it up there for you guys. So it's definitely a great time to be getting invested right now as we continue to see this momentum push us higher.
Awesome. Jeremy in the chat just said he picked IBIT from last week's opening playbook and scored 250%. So nice.
Dang, there you go.
There you go.
And he also asked, are options more profitable than holding Bitcoin or altcoins? And I suppose
Well, I don't think I don't think Bitcoin's going to go up 100%
Right.
in most cases.
In a
So
week, or yeah.
yeah, in a week. So like in terms of intrinsic capability of moving, sure, but the debit spread I'm talking about, you also lose the entire investment a
Yeah.
big percentage of the time, which Bitcoin probably not going to happen. So that's the give and take you have there.
There you go. All right, Jeffrey, we'll keep things moving, and we will get to a bunch of your questions in the chat before the end here. So if you want to keep dropping those, please do. Jeffrey, I know you're going to give us your full kind of price target and breakdown in just a little bit.
Yeah.
But this current run, how long do you think it could go? Where are you feeling like the momentum is right now?
Yeah, so the current right now move, it was a big move up, and we may get some consolidation over the next few days. But we do have this big congressional crypto week catalyst that, depending on what happens all week, it did start today. And depending on what happens all week, we could see some volatility, because crypto is the most volatile asset in the entire market right now, has been since it kind of came to existence. So as I tell people, it is the most volatile thing you can trade. If you can't handle volatility, don't trade crypto, or at least control your risk very, very tightly. For noobs, people new to crypto, this should be money we would be willing to take out back, throw it in your fire pit, and light on fire. Because that's very well what may happen, especially if you play options on one of these. Like Nate was saying, those debit spreads can evaporate if you get it wrong. And Lance is shaking his head.
Oh yeah, I saw that move today. If you don't, with the option, you definitely still have to time it, so to speak, right? Compared to you buy like the ETF or the crypto itself, then you don't have to worry about the timing. So, with better return comes a little bit more risk. So it really just depends on one's risk profile, I would say, right?
Yeah. And as far as where to get started, a lot of people, it really depends on you as a trader. Are you a trader? Do you want to chase options? Do you want to pay attention? Do you want to jump all in? Or are you more of somebody that wants to stack sats, as they say, stack satoshis, which is the smallest denomination of Bitcoins. You can open a Coinbase account, throw $5 a week, $10 a week, and just buy Bitcoin and just dollar cost average. You're going to dollar cost average as we go to the highs, and then you'll dollar cost average as we go into the next crypto winter pullback. And you just keep, buying your piece, whatever it is. And that's a great approach if you're long-term investing in something like Bitcoin. But if you're just short-term trading, I threw out some ways to get 2x leverage without having to be right on options, like BITX, BITU, BTCL, even 2x leverage on Mara, which is MRAL in the chat there. So you can get leverage on those just by buying shares, and you don't have to worry about the running out of time or picking the expiration or the strike price or any of that stuff.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. Really cool insights there in the chat for everyone if you want to check over there. Speaking of the chat, we should dive into some questions here in just a minute. Lance, I know you had to step out for a minute. Anything you want to add to what's been said so far?
Keep it rolling.
Love it. All right. All right. Looking for questions, and please go ahead and post them again before if I don't get to them, because they can get lost in a busy chat with hundreds of folks in here. Mark F asks, does the liquidity on Bitcoin have an advantage, or IBIT, because it doesn't have to deal with the Fed or go through the Fed process at all? It's not, kind of impacted by that. What do you guys think?
You mean is there an advantage in building a liquidity pool outside of the Fed?
Yeah, I guess that is what he's asking, Mark. If you want to clarify, feel free. But go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Jeff was saying, kind of depends on how some votes go and things like that here. In the mean, I'm actually very curious about this whole peg thing. Like, it almost seems like it would now be much harder to lend and build it up as liquidity storage if the restrictions are that much higher, because the Fed Reserve and all the Fed banking systems and all the private banks can lend at such ridiculous multiples. If you want to provide liquidity in crypto, but you can't do that, it seems like all their profit margin is going to go away. So I'm kind of curious about that. I'm just finding this out now that apparently you have to be way more responsible if you're lending crypto than if you're lending US dollars. So that seems like a bit of an issue.
Yeah, I was just, going through those in preparation for the show, and I'm kind of with you. Like, if we impose that, is that more of a protectionist type tactic against traditional US dollar finance over crypto financing? It's not really making the environment. So as we debate these bills, maybe they're good, maybe they're bad, maybe they have unintended consequences. I'm kind of with you there, Nate.
Yeah, that's very interesting to see. I still think it would be difficult to even realize the potential of that until it also is, like you said, the last stage of adoption where people are actually using it transactionally and things like that. I mean, again, I'm kind of in that middle adoption range, so I can speak to that of like, I like it, I trade it, I kind of talk about it here and there, and people talk, but I'm not thinking about like, hey, I need to borrow some Bitcoin from the bank today because I want to buy a car. Like that, that's not exactly front of mind yet. So until that, like, I don't even know if it becomes a real thing in terms of, people thinking about, because why does it matter, the whole liquidity world of borrowing Bitcoin? Why does it matter until it's mass adoption and people actually want to leverage it like a bank? I don't think it does. You're talking about lending it out to very small circles anyway. So I think like those dominoes all kind of have to fall at the same time.
Yeah, I think we're building the frameworks right now. There's a lot of framework that has to be put in place for this to become easy for you to do a global transaction worldwide with any merchant. So we still have a lot of things we got to do, Stephen, as you were, where are we on this curve? We're in this place where we've got to build out the infrastructure. It's kind of like we've hatched the plan for the interstate system for the United States. Now it's building the interstate. Mm-hmm. And then once the interstate gets built, then you see all this massive expansion that we never dreamed of that was happening. And, we see population expansion. We see people be able to live places and go places. That wasn't possible before the interstate system was built in the United States. And it's very similar to what's happening in crypto. We're in this age of expansion that's going to we're going to lay these frameworks. JP Morgan announcing, I think it was last week, that they're building a framework for interoperability between cryptos. And and Bank of America came out in support of that today. So Bank of America says this is something we need so that we can more readily adopt cryptos across the system, because we can have interoperability between the different major coins. And that doesn't really exist right now unless you go to an exchange and you got to swap and pay the fees and this sort of thing. So when and if banks can interop coins very easily, does that open a whole new forex or something like that, a different market for that kind of market? So we'll see. Lots of different things happening.
That's awesome. Jeffrey, you have like a mind-blowing awareness and knowledge and stuff. I feel like every time we do one of these, you're kind of blowing all of our minds. But we're talking kind of, different time frames here, because obviously we're talking about the very long term, kind of the medium term. Jeremy asked a very kind of short term question, which is, are there any pullback concerns with inflation, CPI numbers this week, or, even earnings starting? I don't know why that would affect it, but will it affect the rally? Jeffrey, I know you've talked about thinking maybe we've got some compression coming up before the next big move higher. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, volatility like no other asset, like I said, and it can be risk on, risk off, just as more than anything else. Usually, I've said this many times. Usually, Bitcoin is leading the S&P by about 2 weeks. So this big pop that we've had, maybe that precedes an even bigger breakout in the S&P than we've had. So there's that potential that maybe it's front running and we actually see a positive reaction off of CPI and PPI. I'm not extremely worried about those. I think they're just going to come in good numbers like we've had. Nothing crazy, nothing, gas prices haven't gone crazy. So we're not seeing major, the biggest, effect of inflation in our country right now has not really moved at all. We had the lowest 4th of July prices we've had in 5 years. So I think it's just going to kind of come in line and not really, and just kind of be maybe because we're not going to cut rates, people freak out, but I leave that to smarter heads than me as far as if that actually matters.
And the other thing too is with Bitcoin is in terms of like the pullbacks, like sometimes you get a couple day pullback where it rips back 10%, but sometimes you get just what it did today. It already had a 3% pullback today. It just might not look like it by the end of the week. So sometimes you get just those little mini flushes and it keeps ripping and people say like, oh, it didn't pull back. I mean, it did pull back 3% for other stocks. That's like that's a good healthy pullback. It just doesn't sometimes look like it on the chart.
Yeah, it's time compression. A week can happen in a day for Bitcoin.
Right.
Right.
Awesome. One more question here I saw. Let me find it again. Frank asked.
Can I have a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Very important, Jeffrey. I'm on my Robinhood account.
Yeah. I got one of those.
And I went to my crypto.
All right.
And I look at the trending. It's XRP, UNI, Trump coin, which is not doing good. Eric Trump, what's happened, Eric Trump? And I see one called PopCat. Ticker POPCAT. I look at the 1-year chart.
That's Jeffrey's coin, by the way. He owns that.
It went down, but this past week it's up 30%.
Yeah.
And this past month it's up 15.5%. Jeffrey, I want to know, because it says PopCat is a meme token launched on Solana inspired by the internet meme of a cat named Oatmeal from October 2020. PopCat was launched in December 23, and then it tells my risk disclaimer. I guess my question is, what are these meme coins like a PopCat? And are they just pure speculation and pump and dumps, or is there any real like why would the stock move 30% in a week, or the Bitcoin?
Well, that's just human emotion right there. Like I said, it can compress. It's like the tulip craze happening. It's pump and dump, kind of essentially. There's 18.5 million coins right now, Lance. If you can wrap your head around that, I mean, I just pulled it up on Coin Market Cap right behind, yeah, right on my screen here. 18.49 million coins right now. Solana changing their code to allow coins to be able to be created with almost no friction for most people. I think you can do it for less than $1,000 out of pocket, and you can create these coins. It may be even cheaper now, maybe $100. You can create these coins, launch them out to the public. If you can get people to buy it, pump it, the price pumps very quickly. You can dump your coins. We saw that with Hawk Tuah Girl. And
Ooh, Tuah.
I knew that'd get your attention. But we've seen this over and over. Even Trump coin kind of pumped and dumped. And it has potential to pump again, but nothing's ever guaranteed. I have like 165 million Pepe coins or PP coins or whatever they're called.
Oh, Pepe. I know Pepe. Yeah, Pepe.
And I got like 165 million of those. Like it could pop. If it goes to a penny, I'm going to be a millionaire. But maybe
So
it does
those are
nothing.
pure speculation. Now, and Bradley says stable coins are tied to an index like dollar or gold. What about, because I know David Sachs, Chamath, all the guys in the All In, David Sachs is the crypto czar. They're all big into these stable coins. So obviously, if they're in them to get paid, right?
Yeah,
They're not just
yeah.
doing that at the goodness of their heart,
Well,
right?
that's the place they figured out that can buy treasuries. That's why they're all in on it, is to help expand the U.S. debt. These CBDC or not CBDCs, but these stable coins are taking in dollars and buying treasuries, and they're doing it on massive scale, and they're getting this leverage almost as they bring in more and more, and some of them offset a little bit of it over to Bitcoin and get those gains and then take that back, and it's back to the M2 money supply, and as it inflates everything, it just gets bigger and bigger, and that's who they found to buy treasuries, is these stable coins. So they're all in supporting them, but then again, we look at the bill thrown up in the House that's going to be debated this week, and maybe that's not in support of stable coins. So I don't, which way are we going?
So is there a way to play the stable coin directly?
So the only way you can make money holding the coin itself is to stake it down and get some of the yield. They'll pay you
got you.
some of
Okay.
the yield off of it. Now, you can trade Circle, who just went public, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks
Right.
ago, and that stock has just been a crazy volatile monster right there. And that's a different way you can take advantage of that. But there's some more complex arbitrage type things, but it gets way beyond even my comprehension of what to do.
Very cool. And
Well,
Jeffrey, I can't wait to hear what you got to say today about it, because I know you're the crypto. We'll call you the real crypto czar.
yeah, absolutely. And on that note, let's kind of move in here to Jeffrey, what you have to share, but I want to get everybody to weigh on this because we shared a lot of data and information today, and there's a ton of info in the chat and that we've already covered. But if you had to kind of boil down to the one thing people could do right now to take advantage of this move, and Lance, maybe your advice is just listen to Jeffrey, but let's start with you. What do you think the one thing people should do right now to take advantage of this is?
Well, I think Fern just says about Robinhood. I mean, I love the Robinhood stock as a play long term, and I do think some of these, if you just want to do straight plays like in stock or options, like a SoFi, Hood, some of these newer kind of fintech, crypto friendly companies, I think are great plays, and you're not seeing the banks really react too well to the market, and they report earnings this week. So I think you go with the new tech, new fintech, so like Robinhood, SoFi, like Jeffrey said, Circle, and some of these newer IPOs that are going to keep coming out. I think it was eToro and stuff like that. They're just really changing the way that finance works, investing works, and Robinhood. I mean, they have so many coins right now on the platform. I mean, there's so much you can do. It's not like years ago where it was limited. It's truly insane.
Webull just came out too a couple months ago.
Yep.
And
Webull's another one.
Awesome. Thank you. Nate, anything you want to add there?
Well, I guess you got to figure out what path you're going to take. I mean, kind of three obvious paths to me. Number one, you're not going to touch anything. You don't like it, you don't trust it, whatever. You're not going to touch anything. I think that is you're missing opportunity there. I think it's one of the biggest opportunities we have right now, just from a purely volatility movement asset, whether you want to trade it directly or hold some long term, whatever. Number two, you could trade it kind of like a lot of people do. When it's hot, you grab some. When it's not, you forget about it. Here and there, when it's big in the news, when it's making all-time highs, you care about it, and then you forget about it or whatever. Or number three, if you believe that crypto's here to stay, that it's going to be a big opportunity, if the opportunities are going to pop up in different places, it might be MSTR, it might be Mara, it might be the core cryptos, and that you just think like this makes sense to have as part of my portfolio, then try to actually have a system and a focus around it consistently in your portfolio as a piece. Now, obviously, I think that makes the most sense because we just saw a prime example where the S&P has sputtered out, been in a consolidation, really no directional opportunity over the last 5 days, while crypto has moved up, $15,000 a coin over those same 5 days, right? So, in my opinion, that's the kind of opportunity that you should have in your portfolio. Now, you got to do it with risk defined. You got to make sure you understand how much of your portfolio you want to use for it. You have to make some good decisions, but you got to pick your path there of how much exposure and how you want to approach it. I don't think crypto's going anywhere. I don't think the crypto companies are going anywhere. I certainly don't think BlackRock or Vanguard is going anywhere who are well invested in this. And so obviously, I think it makes the most sense to kind of consider, okay, how do I want to approach it? And I guess that's really where Jeffrey comes into play. Not you could do it like I do. You kind of follow my lead. Hey, it's ripping, grab some debit spreads, so that's fun. I do that. But if you want to have a more complete understanding, then something like Jeffrey has, where he actually has an entire universal view of crypto, is going to try to find the opportunities, whether, by the way, it's going up, down, or sideways, and lean into that. So that's obviously why I'm typically, even before I do make trades, I'm typically sending a Slack to Jeffrey saying, "Hey, what do you think about this? Are you as excited as I am about the momentum we're getting right now?" Because I know that I always want to have some crypto. As a matter of fact, end of 2024, I probably got up to like 35% of my portfolio accidentally being crypto because it was just outpacing everything. So from a pure growth standpoint, I was thinking, geez, I've got a lot of crypto and I don't even know kind of what I'm doing some of the time with this. And then I scale back a little bit. And now I kind of try to pick my spots. And so you got to make that decision first, and then you got to, make an action plan of what you're going to do with that. I would shamelessly tell you, Jeffrey's probably going to be the one who's going to have the best insight and the fullest, universalistic kind of plan and approach to help you pick those spots, and whether you're using 5% of your portfolio or 50% of your portfolio to actually have an action plan associated with that. So that would be my approach.
Awesome. And Jeffrey, I'm not kidding when I say you know more about crypto than, it seems like the rest of the world put together, but certainly you have some of the coolest research and insights, and you always